Hello and welcome to Poly-Innovator. So, I was just listening to a podcast by Santi Younger. It is Unspecialized, where it's talking about being a jack of all trades. And something he was talking about was being a jack of all trades and personal branding and creating content and being a content creator and building a personal brand as a jack of all trades, which is something that obviously I've been doing myself as well. Now, Santi is someone I greatly admire. I think he's brilliant, and I actually had him as one of my early guests on the Polymath podcast, hence the Polymath title. And we had, actually, that title is actually his episode title. It's one of my favorites: a stoic, jack of all trades, and a polymath walk into a bar. And I thought that was really fun. Santi Younger, he was talking about all the ideas of someone having, like, someone who's a jack of all trades knows a lot about a lot of things, maybe not always too deep level, depends on where you're at on the multidisciplinary spectrum. However, the whole idea is that if you're creating content, you have a choice to make. If there's a few different topics you want to talk about, do you create multiple channels and like funnels, or do you funnel it all into one? Which is my philosophy. And when I talked to him last year, his philosophy was the other. And I think he's starting to kind of closer to where my line of thinking is, on his own realization, really. I just think it's really interesting, is like, which one should you do? So there was a lot of YouTube channels that always say, niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down, niche down. Do one thing and let yourself be known for that one thing, and so that it could be found through SEO and search. Totally correct. That's it. You have to be known for one thing in order to be found. However, you have to be found. There's other ways of being found, technically. If you're known for that one thing by one person, then they know you for that thing. Who's to say you can't be known for more than one thing? And so the idea is, if you niche down, you are allowed to build your way up. So whether it is a YouTube channel, a podcast, a website, etc., it's about how can that person find you. If you're known for stoicism, if you're known for creating videos and you're the video creating guy, you're the streamer guy, that is your niche, that is your topic, that is who they know you as, and that's how they can find you to know you. However, my philosophy is that if you are creating enough content, and this is something that Santi was saying in his podcast too, it's a quantity game. If you're creating enough videos and enough podcasts and enough blog posts, eventually you're going to have a lot of one topic, a lot of content in that one topic, a lot of content in this topic, and a lot of content in this topic. You have enough for people to find. And here's where I wanted to expand upon his episode, which I'll link down in the description because I definitely want to share the love with him. He's awesome. And his podcast is starting to start back up again too. And when I interviewed him, he had multiple podcasts. He had multiple topics, and they're all pretty wide-ranging. Stoicism, jack of all trades, being unspecialized, if you will, and magic making, and Tokipana, which is a constructed language. Way different concepts, and quite honestly, I agreed with him when he said he didn't want them all on one stream. It made sense. Now, I think he tried combining the magic with stoicism, and that's great, and he actually was pretty successful with it because he was the only one doing that. And I think that's not super rare, but it's also not super common either. If you find a unique combination like that, run with it, see how well you can do with it. In fact, I even encourage you, Santi, to keep going down that stoic magician path. But if you find that, hopefully you can find more than one too if you're a jack of all trades. But find something that you're good at and build off of that. Because one thing I have learned as a content creator, regardless of your niche, is that you really do need to have a baseline. You need to have something to build off of. Now, I don't necessarily prefer you staying on that one baseline for so long, even as long as other creators talk about, like Think Media and Thomas Frank and Ali Abdal. They all talked about like creating content and like choosing something and sticking something to it. And I don't think you should stick to it. I think you should get good at it, make 30 pieces or whatnot, then expand. Especially since content repurposing is a thing, and you can actually take that content and put it elsewhere. I'm going to make this video. I'm going to cut the audio out and make it into a polycast. Hopefully it's not too long for the Fireside Micro Polycast. And more than likely, I'm going to write a blog post about it as well. At the very least, the audio and video, but maybe all three, which makes it a pseudo-omni content in this case. And that's the whole reason why I created the omni content, so I could actually have multiple pieces of content for every episode, which every episode has a various topics. I have mini-series that link them together, but for the most part, all the omni contents are about different things. The first one was about self-education, the one I just made was about generalists, And the one I'm going to make next week or the week after is probably about Ikigai. So there's tons of different things I've created about. And so this is where the juicy part comes into this video and Polycast, is that you have to find a meta niche. So whether you are like me and you want to talk about being a jack of all trades or polymath, and so my meta niche is polymathy. I almost called it an anti-niche, if you will, because that is my niche of being someone who's multidisciplinary. It gives me the excuse to do other different topics, at least in my view of it. And so I'm talking fast. I need to take a breath. Now, when it comes to creating all this content, I have all these different topics, and so I try to organize them my own way, which is phases, and I've kind of failed at that in a way. My first phase was self-education through the modular degree, or do-it-yourself degree at the time, and that's still kind of what I'm talking about now, although I realized that I wasn't going to be able to make the tool for the modular degree just yet. I had to find the technology or find the capacity to code it myself or whatever. However, I'm still creating the template in Notion, so I'm still able to continue that first phase and share that template when it gets ready. But beyond that, I actually started my new phase, which is around exercise, which is something I just stopped teaching after a better half of a decade. I mean, I'm still personal training and I'll still do swimming in the summertime, but for the most part, I'm done with the IRL teaching and I'm moving to online teaching, so that way I can have more focus on teaching more people. Point is, those are two big topics, and in between that, I had kind of like a pseudo phase where I was focusing on these interviews, and I was getting all these interviews out because it was just an opportunity due to quarantine that I could not resist. Everyone was stuck at home. Now, I mentioned all of this because these are all different phases that come underneath the meta niche of polymathy. Most polymaths that I've ever lived, let alone the ones I've talked to or know, or people who are polymathic, almost 99% of them are autodidacts. They're self-learners. And we have no current system in the world to quantify or systemize self-education. It's just you go pick up a book and read. Hence my bookshelf back here. Or you go take an online course, but you might be able to put it on your LinkedIn, but whatever. Like, there's not a way to quantify or create a degree-like structure with your self-education. You have to just go to college if you want a degree structure. I wanted to make my own degree with online stuff. I could learn way faster and way more in my own style with self-education. That is something that's well within polymathy. My approach to exercise is this cross-discipline. You could even quote-unquote say CrossFit philosophy when it comes to taking multiple areas of exercise, whether it's calisthenics or weight training, heavy weight training, or swimming, or anything like that, and putting them all together. So they're all separate things. Some people have golfing as their thing. Some people have MMA or boxing. And that's part of their polymath exercise. And it's the polymathic approach to exercise that I'm talking about. Again, within that niche. Something that isn't super within the niche, but is one of my next phases, is gaming. I'm a big avid gamer. I believe in being a polymathic gamer, where I'm playing on PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo and PC. All of them. On the phone, too. These are all different options, but most people choose one or two. I chose all of them. I've played on almost all the systems besides the brand newest ones that came out in the last year or so. And so I consider myself a polymathic gamer. And there's tons of different games I like to play. And so when I create gaming content, eventually, and stream it and all that jazz, I will be having multiple different kinds of games and topics and consoles that I'll probably be streaming from if I can get that going. My point being, it's a very diversified approach. And so, again, it's within that niche. It's within that meta niche of polymathy. And I think that is the key to polymathic personal branding, or being a jack of all trades and building a personal brand. You don't have to choose one, but you have to choose a meta niche that's broad enough that could be approached. Now, if you just do that meta niche only, if I only talk about polymathy, well, guess what? I'm probably not going to grow. There's actually a big rise in polymathic content creators, and I've met a lot of them. I've interviewed a lot of them, and I think they're amazing. I haven't even got a chance to interview all of them, like David Epstein or Michael Arakas. But the point being is that that space is niched down to people who are like me, or like Santi, or like Michael, and etc. And so that world is bigger than most people realize, but it's still also online a little too small at this point. There's not a fire built into it. It's just kind of everyone's hustling so hard that it's growing. I think it's amazing, and so I'm not discrediting it by any means. But my point is that if I was just to only talk about polymathy, I wouldn't grow as fast, I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think I would. And so I'm talking about polymathy every so often, like my whole multidisciplinary spectrum that I'm creating right now for the online content. However, the next topic after that is more poly-innovator based, and then more education based, etc. And so I'm interlacing, or more, no, the word is interleaving all this content together and woving it. Is it woving? Well, I'm making it into this pattern of like, hey, there's this content and this content and this content. I wish I could have like a certain day of the week where it's one content or another. Maybe that's one way to do it too. Like maybe Mondays you talk about magic, and Tuesdays you talk about constructed languages, and then Wednesday it's polymathy, etc. Now, I'm making this video for me and Santi and for all us other creators like us, but it's also for someone else who's starting out too. I think most creators are not doing enough, and I tell people that, and they're all like, "Oh, I'm already trying so hard." Well, there's a point of trying, and there's a point of being smart about it, working smarter, and I say that with complete empathy. I know it's hard. I'm sitting here struggling to get all my interviews out. Like I get it. As a solo creator, it's a struggle. However, if you can systematize it, like I do with Notion or Santi does with Obsidian and that kind of thing, when you have systems and a second brain and a basis for all the stuff you're doing, it makes it so much easier. ClickUp is actually really helpful. And actually, I recently on the Omniblog, I created a list of all the task and project management tools out there that I could find at least. And it's a very valuable resource. You can find it on my website. It's one of the newest posts, as well as the Art of Digital Productivity. Both of those posts kind of link together. You can find one, you'll find the other. And they both have a really useful aspect. One is the how, like you get the tool. One is the why, like the philosophy behind it. And that way, if you have that in your backlog and you can understand what you need to do in order to be digitally productive as a content creator, I think that'll help a lot. Also, check out Santi's courses. He has a lot of great stuff over there. Other than that, I don't have anything else to share, but I just really wanted to give people this idea of being a jack of all trades personal brand and how to do it.